All right, fam. Let me try to get this out nice and smooth. I had a deep conversation a couple hours ago, and it's still on my mind. So I want to kind of get an understanding and give you guys an education lesson of the blood on this land, and some things that they may not tell you in school. Okay, and I'm going to try to keep this nice and short. Okay, and I'm just going to use general terms just to make it easy. Okay, now understand that the natives of this land, and I'm just going to say native because native is basically if you can trace some type of ancestry that was born on the land that you're on, that means you're native to that land. Okay, if you have some type of history, if you were born on this land and you have some type of history, ancestors that was born on this land, okay, that makes you native. So basically, just like we see today, and then you have the government, okay, this outside entity that has no jurisdiction on this land whatsoever. Okay, now because that's basically how you see it today. It's the people and it's the government. That's basically the two entities that are constantly combating each other in reality. Okay, guys? So let me give you guys a little bit of a history lesson, and I'm just going to make it general because we were all the people. We worked together, just like we pretty much do today, except for our little riffraffs. Okay? So understand, fam, that when we go back to the beginning of our timeline, which pretty much, let's just say the 1400s, 1492 and beyond, okay, when it really started going down, family, okay? Understand that it did not start off because the debate that I was having was against current regulations and we needing a government, and my side was pretty much we can be our own government because we were. All right. And we set our own regulations. We set our own rules, and we can do that today. We do it pretty much in our everyday life. The problem is that we've been miseducated and think that we have to rely on one form of government when you can create your own tribe and govern your own self. Okay. But there were some things said about how, like, I was saying that people live longer back then. And they were saying, no, actually people died, people were dying when they were in their 30s and all. People were dying at a younger age. And to a certain extent, both of us has a good argument. But let me explain why people were dying earlier back then, okay? When the war started between the natives and the outside entity, okay, it did not start off as they tell you in your stories, guys, in your education system. Understand the current outside entity controls the education system so that you can only rely on them as your government instead of realizing that you can form your own and that you are your own. Okay, so let me give you a little history lesson. When it first started, it did not start out as they told you. It did not start out guns blazing and bow and arrow shit. First of all, understand the natives had guns as well. Okay, let's understand that the natives we didn't just have bow and arrows as they tell you. We had guns as well, just like we do today. Okay, it did not start out that way. Okay, it started out as we were being poisoned. Okay, we were being poisoned. Okay, that's what originally got it started. We were being poisoned. Now there was things happen when the outside entity first started coming over. We were actually friends. We were actually befriending each other. But manipulation occurred, and we started getting sick and dying. Okay, and we were being poisoned. Now there's different ways that we were being poisoned. And I'm not going to get into all the different ways, but we were being, just like today, when you say you're sick. No, you are being poisoned. There's no different from today than yesterday, than 3, 4, 500 years ago. There's no difference between your past, your present, and your future. The only thing changes is the decisions that you make today. Okay? I'm a little long-winded with this one. All right? So, it started out, that's what really got it started. And famine is poison. Okay? Famine is poison. Disease is poison, dis-ease. And then there's other ways to poison people. Put it in your food, put it in your drink. Chemistry shit. Okay? Once we realized, the natives realized what was going on, that's when guns were started blazing. Now understand this too, family. It's not how they told you. We were fighting for hundreds of years, and the natives was busting their ass. We outnumber them. Okay? And this is our land. So we knew the ins and outs. Land and sea and air. All that shit. Don't believe the hype. All right? We had all that shit. And we were busting their ass. We were chopping heads and vice versa. There was times where we were getting our ass whooped too. But the fight was going on for 300, 400 fucking years. Okay? Now this is the issue. This is the issue that I'm having. Now, at some point, both sides were like, okay, enough's enough. Enough's enough. All right? And we signed treaties with each other. We signed peace treaties with each other. Okay? Now the outside entity initiated the peace treaty because they were getting their ass whooped. We were just defending our land. So they initiated the treaties. Okay? Now, the issue is, understand we are still at this war. The war never really truly ended. We just signed a time of peace. But what happened is that we started getting backstabbed. They started going against their word. Okay? And they continue to poison us to this day. Now, instead of poisoning us where we die immediately, and we die at an early age, 30. This is how people were dying early, because they were getting poisoned immediately. The outside entity or the government regulates the amount of poison that they can put into your system and how much they can put into you. They regulate the dosage, but they are still poisoning you. They are still going against their word. They're just regulating it, and they have to tell you now, because that's part of the deal. But they use slick language. They do slick verbiage as well to make things seem like they're natural, and they're not as well. I've just recently shown you evidence of this. Okay? So yes, we do need a government. But understand, family, that you are your government. And you need to understand, and you need to be educated that you can govern yourself. The problem with the school is school systems and everything in our current society. And the rich people live by a whole different law, whole different rules. They pretty much govern themselves. But we can as well. We're no different. We just haven't been educated on it. But there's a lot of information that's coming out now. All right, this is the time of the awakening. So understand, fam. Understand. We were being poisoned in the beginning. That's what really popped it off. Then the guns and the fighting and the wars and all that shit happened. And it happened for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. People were getting their ass kicked from all sides. We were like, okay, enough fighting. Let's have some time of peace. We signed agreements. Just like how it started. They went against our friendship. And still poisoning us to this day. So instead of us dying at 30, now it's a slower death. We're dying at 50, 60, 70. Shit, there's still some people that's dying at 20 and 30 from different diseases or different types of poisoning. Okay, it's not a specific thing to, and this is long, you know, it's not a specific meaning behind this, but I just want to give you guys an understanding of how this shit started, the lies or the manipulation or the misinformation, I guess you would say, or the hiding of some of the information, because understand, we were at war for hundreds of years. I'm just talking about just in this timeline. And this timeline pretty much started 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That's the timeline. Well, we're at the end of that timeline pretty much. There's still remnants of that timeline, but actually if you want to talk more current, up to date, that timeline ended in 2012. We're in a whole different timeline now. That's why things are acting different. But I'm just giving you guys an understanding of the world that used to be. We're in a new timeline now, so now we can truly govern ourselves. The more that we lift the veil, the more that we shed light on that darkness and release that darkness and let it go, give it no more energy, the more that you'll see how our timeline has changed and how people can actually choose now. You can start to choose which government you want. Because, yeah, there's always going to be leaders, there's always going to be some type of regulations and rules. But, you know, my thing is choice and education, so we can make an informed decision instead of thinking that we just have one decision to make or just one choice. Okay, no, you can choose pretty much the life that you want to live. All right, hope this wasn't too much. Zen, abundance, bliss.